Hi, I'm Steve McCormick, MSP Community Manager for Tubblog, the hub for MSPs. Joining me today, I have the founder of Adventurous Coaching and creator of the mental fitness kitbag model. She's done a lot of things. She's been a keynote speaker and a business coach. It's Polly Brennan. Welcome, Polly, and how are you today?
I'm great. I've been really excited, childishly excited actually, about coming to join you today. So it's a great way to start the week. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, okay. So before we get on with the questions, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about your background and about yourself and how you got into mental fitness coaching?
Okay. So my name's Polly Brennan. As you can tell, I'm a Glasgow girl through and through. I live in the northeast of England, and I absolutely love where I live because I can spend time in the outdoors, and it's one of my big passions. So adventure is just such a big part of my life. I have mental health has been part of my life for 51 years because I'm 51. And as a human, if you have a pulse, you have mental health. So, I'm a human like everybody else with, good health at times, not so good at other times. And I've been, I'd say, privileged to be someone who's supported other people with their mental health and to help them strengthen mental fitness for, oh, coming on for 28 years now, really. And my career has been working in the NHS as an occupational therapist for many, many years until I became a full-time business owner. So mental health has always been part of my role in helping people walk difficult journeys and rehabilitate to good health is just something that means the world to me.
Excellent. So you've had the kind of theme of mental health then running through everything that you've done to actually get to this point, which is great. So you've got that you've got that background. Brilliant. So okay, then I'll start with my first question. So I need to ask you then, what is mental fitness and why is it so important?
It's a really great question. So I suppose the first place to start is to say something about mental health. So I mentioned already, mental health is something that we all have. If you have a pulse and you're human, you have mental health. And it's something that, a bit like our physical health, our mental health can be strong and positive. It can support us to live a healthy, full life. Or our mental health can suffer and we can face challenges to mental health and we can become mentally unwell. So I think of mental health as being like a scale. If you were to imagine that on this scale, we could have, very poor mental health, in fact, mental illness. We can have mental health and we can have mental fitness. Now, I often ask people, like, where would you say you are on that scale? And if it was a scale of 1 to 10, but each of us could answer that question quite differently on any given day because we are influenced by events, we're influenced by circumstances, we're influenced by our habits, things that happen. So any of us can slide up and down that scale of mental health at any time. And it doesn't matter who you are and what you do, status, occupation, age, any one of us. We all put our trouser legs on one leg at a time. We all have the potential to be at any point in the scale. And I guess mental fitness is that point where it's the workout you do that helps you go from where you are in the scale to where you want to be. It's, I guess, habits, practice skills that you can learn, tools, tricks, techniques, things that we can all do actually that help us to be, I guess, as mentally like sort of strong, mentally robust as we can be physically robust. So I guess doing mental fitness workouts and learning, like, what does that really mean for you, is something that it's an investment in ourselves. Each time we make a good choice or employ a helpful strategy, we're investing in ourselves. So I think mental fitness is like an investment that I guess we could say if you know how to take care of it, you can have mental wealth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So a bit like, if you're tempering steel, you have to kind of weaken it and harden it, and it gets stronger. So I suppose that is the same with our bodies and our mental health, isn't it? So that's really good. Okay,
actually, I love that metaphor because what it reminds us is that at points where we do feel vulnerable, and we're all going to feel vulnerable at points in our life, we have to remember that those like challenges that we face. So life is tough, but so are we. And I think when we are faced with challenges and we are put in hot water, they're the moments where our resilience gets strengthened. So that was a really lovely analogy that you used there. Salt it and touch is a really, really, really purposeful analogy.
Thank you. So we all had a bit of a blip, 2 or 3 years ago when we went through the pandemic. So I think my next question for you is, what would you say are the most significant challenges to our mental health in the post-pandemic modern age?
It's such an incredible question. I've been thinking about this really since the pandemic, because we were in it. We were frightened because we could see it coming, and then we were in it, and we all had to do something that a sort of mantra that I learned from working with military veterans, which is improvise, adapt, and overcome. We had to improvise and change our worlds and adapt to this brave new world. It was like learning to dance on a shifting rug, and overcome the barriers. And I guess it probably affected people in different ways, because some of us were working through the pandemic. I was one of them. I was working in the NHS and running a business as well. So
Wow.
And some of us were at home isolated. Some of us thrived upon it because of how it influenced our opportunities, to just pause, the power of pause. We got to stop. And some people were really ill, and it was very, very difficult. But so we all probably experienced the same event in really different ways, because we're different in how we respond. But I would say that one of the things I think that has been really noticeable to me, and perhaps you've noticed this too, Steve, is I think that our digital world and the tools that we have available really helped us become super connectors. We were able to stay sort of physically distanced but socially connected.
Definitely, yeah.
Really powerful. I mean, I loved the excitement of people getting together on Teams and Zoom parties, and all sorts of fun stuff was happening. People found ways to do things differently. But what I do perhaps see now is that whilst that digital connection has really connected us, I feel like now that we can be back in the world again and we can be face to face, I think it's also built isolation, that we can communicate digitally, but actually those real sitting across the table or walking side by side, face to face, person to person interactions are really important. And I would say that the isolation and the connection side of things is probably been really difficult for some people. And I guess, that getting out and experiencing activities together is something we can't do in the same way when we're on our tech.
Definitely. I think that I saw a big difference when we were allowed to actually, go out and meet face to face. When I was going to some of these industry events, it was just so nice to see people with people talking, and it just felt like we'd all been let out, and it was really, really good to see people genuinely enjoying face-to-face communication, which a lot of people used to dread. It was becoming a thing that everyone was actually looking forward to. So that's really, really good. Brilliant. Freedom, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing to do that again. And I think some people probably went from fear of missing out because then when everything stopped, nobody was missing anything. We were all just having a quiet time, to fear of going out. So some people really embraced it and went, yes, come on, let's meet, let's do stuff. I guess other people probably found that kind of leaping back into life difficult again.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a result, I'm a really big advocate for get outside, meet up, connect, be in the outdoors, or be in whatever environments, but connect. And have adventures, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, I think we really embraced the outdoors again too, because we weren't allowed to do much else. We just found that we found that just walking around a park and seeing the actual ducks, and it was just a crazy thing to actually admit that you enjoyed, but it was that thing that really connected us to nature. Again, I thought that was really good.
It did in some ways help people just embrace what I am really passionate about, which is adventures in the ordinary. Because when you have a busy, exciting life, you don't really always notice what's just right under your nose and things that you can do on a shoestring budget. Like we can have cocoa under, under a canopy. You can have, stargaze. You can sit by a crackling fire. You can stomp in the wilderness and, get really muddy feet and rosy cheeks. There was people started kind of getting out on bikes and families were walking. And I don't know, I think we just sort of also maybe became a bit more able to notice what was around us. Like the bird song seemed to get louder for me. I could hear the stream nearby where I lived. I could sort of just hear everything seemed a little bit more, I don't know, precious, a little bit more juicy, didn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna develop that, because one of my questions I was going to ask you was, you describe yourself as an ambassador of micro adventuring. I'm quite partial to a bit of adventuring myself. You'd probably describe yourself as an outdoors type then, Polly. So how can adventures improve our mental well-being?
I love that question. Well, the first thing I would say, I love outdoor adventures. I like being on the move. I like being really physically active. So my adventures are going to be in the ocean, on a surfboard, on a bike, in my run shoes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
However, I'm not suggesting that everybody should do what I like to do. The question really I ask people is, what does adventure mean to you? Because it means something different to each of us. And our mission is just to discover what it would feel like and, what it would also look like to be doing something that felt adventurous. And it can be as simple as just trying something that you'd never done before, having the guts to try something new, because we do get a bit, I get scared sometimes about new things, and I think we all do. And it's easy to put off doing things or trying things or going to join that group or meet those people or get in the pool. It's easy to get frightened or wobbly. But, adventure to some people might be being really creative. It might be like making things with your hands. Adventure could be like about learning and embracing new knowledge, discovering new things. It could be being in different environments. So I kind of say that like adventures, it could be a health adventure if you wanted to get fit and healthy and take care of your body. If you wanted to sort of take a new career route, you could have a career adventure, relationships, parenting. I guess everything that we do can be adventurous, or perhaps it's just about taking an adventurous approach. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that we get to define it for each of ourselves.
So it's about really putting a mindset to the things that you're trying to do then, isn't it, really? I think that's great, because I think that really helps you to kind of see something as a quest, as a thing to pursue to reach a goal. And I think that's great to actually make that into an adventure. I think that's wonderful. Brilliant. Okay, then. So I can see behind you, you have your famous red kit bag there, and I'm going to ask about that then now. So I've seen it all over your marketing, so that it's the mental fitness kit bag model, which you have pioneered. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that entails?
I thought you'd never ask. Actually. So here's my kit bag. It's nothing simpler. It's nothing more complicated than it's a kit bag, and it's got things in it. And I guess, I am, because as you know, I'm in the outdoors doing stuff. I've always got a backpack. I've got my kit bag for everything I do in life. But I guess in life, we also have, it's a metaphor, isn't it? So we all could have a metaphorical kit bag, because we all have strategies that we use, things that help us. And if you imagine, I suppose, we hear people talk about like life, the metaphor of like life as a journey. So if life was our journey, we would take things along the way with us to help us, to have things to sustain us, physically and nutritionally. We would have tools and tricks for emergencies. We would have, ways to reach out and get help. So I think the kit bag to me is a way to say, for your mental health, you've got a kit bag, what's in it? And the first thing I teach people about mental fitness is that you already have it. Because if you survive this long in your life, it's not a coincidence. And so I wouldn't come along to someone's life and tell them how to, do what they already know how to do. We all have it. And so kind of like, we've got first aid kit. If, we tend to try and think about how to protect ourselves, don't we, in life? So, I've got my metaphorical mental fitness for first aid kit, because if I suffer injury, I want to be able to recover quickly. I've got let's see what else is in here. I've got my whistle. I'm not going to blow it because it's loud. But, sometimes you have to sort of blow the whistle, rally the team. And sometimes you have to do that in life. So I'm really big on the idea that, it's really important, our connections, who we're connected to, having the right people around us, knowing who they are, how they help, making sure we brief them well, because we would do that in a team, wouldn't we? Make sure everybody's briefed well about their role and how they make a difference, and rally them in. I don't know if you can see behind, but I've got my mental fitness buddy box here.
Oh, yeah. The
idea of this is about like learning the skills to ask for help, learning how to sort of reach out for help, how to ask for the help we need. And it's something that we all have to learn really well how to do with the people around us. So I was developed this for some children I was working with in a primary school. So they all have a buddy box in their classes, and they're learning the art of reaching out and asking for support from each other. But the idea of the kit bag is, I guess I've got my adventure map. So if we thought about life as our adventure, we need the route map. This map that you can see here is actually the map, and the milestones on the map are milestones that I take people on in an online adventure map coaching adventure. So it's an online mental fitness program that I run. So we've got the adventure map. And I guess this is a bit like our journey in life as well, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I've got mine here on the wall. It's all places I intend to go when I can next go over to the United States. So that's always there to remind me why we do the things that we do. We need to also reward ourselves, especially if it's good for our mental health and for our souls, So yeah, brilliant. Okay, then. So I'm going to ask you now for your top 3 tips for mental fitness, if that's okay, Polly. So were your top 3?
It's hard because they're all important. Are all important. So let me think. The 3 I'm going to share with you today, the first one I'm going to mention is mindset, and it's something that you mentioned, and the idea about the mind, the approach that we take, being able to sort of cultivate a positive mindset, a positive mental attitude is really, really important. And something I love to remind people is that we can actually choose the mindset that we have, and it's like the lens through which we see the world. So it influences the story we tell ourselves. It influences what we believe to be possible, and often it influences our actions as well. So sometimes we have to clear the clutter in our mind a little bit so that we can get rid of any kind of messages or stories that are holding us back from having the mindset that will really help. I was coaching a business owner recently, and the conversation was about whether I can make this work. So they were kind of fearful about their business, and we were reframing it to, how can we make this a success? How can this business succeed? How will you kick up some dust this year for your business? And so once you start to shift your mindset, you can shift yourself into action mode.
Yeah.
So I usually say to people, we've got to clear the clutter of our mind and get rid of the doubts, the worries, or even just watching the language we're using and work out whether it's fueling our mindset. And we have to remember to tell the unhelpful stuff to take a hike.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
One of the things that I sometimes do, we have the chuck it bucket, and sometimes we've got to really work out what is in our mind that's going to really strengthen our mindset and what is going to hold us back. And sometimes we have to kind of like get that stuff out of our head and scrunch it up and just really just chuck it so that we can keep our mindset focused. So there's number one. The second thing I would suggest, I guess we've talked a bit about the team. So I think more than ever, it's really, really important for us to assemble the right people. So we talked about that very briefly. It's important to make sure that we remember that we are the sum of the people around us, and they will influence how we go about our life. So we have to choose wisely and remember that at any point we can fire, retire, and rehire. So it's really a really good idea to just remember that, to make sure all the time that we just check in with the core of our team, and that we're connected to the people that are cheering us on, that believe in us, the people that will call us when we need to be told the truth, people that will give us honest feedback. We don't want an echo chamber. We want people that will tell us not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. People that have just got our best interests at heart, because these people will help us be our best. So I think that's definitely my second tip around mental fitness. And for the third one, I have to go back to adventure. I can't not. I think embracing adventure can really help us live life impactfully. I think it can help us live a really juicy life. And I think it can also help with how we problem solve. It can help with how we overcome obstacles, build resilience. I sometimes have to walk away from a problem in my business and take time out. Sometimes I feel like I'm too busy to go have fun and do things for me. But I promise you, if I take that step back out and just take the power of the pause, enjoy the elements, get back to basics, I become much more personally effective and professionally successful when I get back to work. So I guess it's about remembering to be an out of office thriver, as well as working really, really hard on our businesses.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, those were brilliant. And, I think that's going to give all of us a lot to actually think on. But I think that having that positivity mindset is extremely important and very helpful, especially if you've got a lot to actually think about and to manage. Wonderful. I am fascinated by marketing at the moment, Polly, especially video marketing, which has just been growing exponentially as a medium. How do you approach marketing for yourself, and how do you have any tips for anybody who might be struggling to market themselves in front of a camera?
Well, creating vlogs has been my go-to really since I started running my business, for no other reason other than it's just felt most natural to me to say my words than it has to try and get them on paper. I tend to be someone that can go round in circles when it comes to copy editing before I've just even had the chance to splurge good ideas. But when it comes to speaking my words, I find myself able to articulate myself better. But to do that, there's some tips and strategies that I suppose I've learned myself. And then I've been able to use them to help clients. So I coached a client who was preparing for her TEDx presentation. Obviously, she was going to be a TEDx speaker, and she was really very, very nervous about that. And I was able to coach her around the mindset aspect of speaking and being in front of the camera. But most importantly, I got behind the camera and took some vlogs of her, helped her see herself, and sort of gave her the confidence really just to speak in front of camera. And I think it's something that you have to do to feel better about, rather than wait till you feel good to do it.
Yeah, I think the more you do it, the more you become comfortable with it. I think that is true. Yeah, definitely.
My first experience ever, I was challenged by Andrew and Pete to start creating vlogs and put them on YouTube, but they challenged me to go and do I think it was maybe like a Facebook Live. So I did it. I went on Facebook and started to speak, and then just once I started to see people pop up and join me, I got such a fright, I just aborted mid-sentence. I just cut it off right away and sat and feeling really shocked, almost like shocked that I had even done it, and even more shocked that I'd actually like jumped out of it before I'd finished it. And I did bump into someone in the street the next day, and I knew she'd been on it, and it was like I didn't mention it, and I was kind of embarrassed about it. So I think for me, I discovered that I'm more comfortable if I can pre-record something. Record live. For some reason that works better. For other people, just having to get out there in the moment and shoot from the hip really works. What I certainly found help from a mindset perspective is, well, obviously it does help to be prepared and know what you want to say and what your point is. I'm someone who uses lots of words, you might have noticed. So getting a really succinct message can be quite tricky, and it certainly is for me. I think that it's really important, obviously, environment, and you want to be somewhere with lighting, and obviously there's people who are way more experienced around the tech aspect of that. I have no knowledge, and my vlogs are very amateurish, but I've decided to, I think from the start, was to get out there and do it, and, be comfortable that I would look back and be really uncomfortable with the quality somewhere down the line, because it would be shockingly amateurish, but then I would know I'd made progress. I think that it's better to be visible and out there saying something than waiting to perfect it. Or if you just don't know what you're doing, hire someone. There's people that are really, really good at it. Like we've got Mark Orr, haven't we? And he's amazing.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Yeah, really good.
So like we just need, the Mark Orrs of the world to come and do that for us. And I think for me, the thing that really helped me just to speak and use vlogs to market was the belief that that the people, I would imagine that I was maybe speaking to someone that knew me well, who liked my work or was a fan or a friend. And I would always assume that no matter what, I've got information or knowledge or a message to share that might help someone. So get over yourself, get it out there. Someone might need to hear it. And thirdly, and this goes for a number of different presentations or just being visible, is just to assume that people will forgive you for being human and not being perfect. And it's a good attitude. It's a good mindset for life. It is, go for healthy striving. Just go for healthy striving rather than perfection. Do your best. Show up. We're messy humans. We get things wrong. It's okay. But certainly it is a good idea to just do it and get more confident as you do it rather than waiting for it to feel really, really good before then you're ready. But that goes for all aspects of marketing. I think it's better to be out there writing posts, or even just interacting with other people's posts, vlogging, however people choose to do it. Is just really important to remember those things. You've got something people need. Share your message, interact with other people, and see what happens along the way. Just let it surprise you, and see what comes from your efforts to be visible.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to connect, isn't it? And I think that video's the best way to actually do that, because people generally want you to succeed. Nobody wants to see you corpse or fail or do anything wrong. People genuinely want you to do well at what you're doing. So you just have to think of that mindset, and people want to hear your passion, not your polish. I think that's important too. So yeah, so those are my tips for you. But
thank you.
I am a complete novice at this yet, so hopefully I'll have a lot more in the future. Right. I'm going to move on to question 7 now, because I think this one, I like asking this question. When you set up in business, it can be a difficult journey to tackle by yourself. So I want to ask you, who has inspired you the most on your entrepreneurial journey? Who's been the kind of model perhaps that you've kind of aspired to when you've started out? Who's been those, or who have been those people that have really helped you focus on achieving?
Okay, so right, this isn't a quick answer, because I don't know how other people would answer this. My inspirations haven't been the people that are experts in their field, the people who are at the top of the game. It's been the people that have inspired me are kind of everyday heroes. They're people that are around me in the northeast of England, that are in business and who've inspired me because of either their generosity to share skills and their desire to kind of bring me along in the journey. So like I feel, when you feel like you're the slow girl in the fast run group at the run club, but people are stopping and waiting for you and they really want you to do well and they're cheering you on. People that are absolutely outstanding at what they do in business, people that are prepared to be really human, whilst being really successful. They're prepared to share parts of themselves around their own vulnerability. People who are just super creative at what they do, and they get so excited they want to share that with us. So I've got a few. There's a few people in mind, but they're, in my mind, they're everyday heroes. So Paul Scurra from That Branding, for me, is just so fun to work with, but just I've just learned so much from him, and the generosity of sharing his expertise. And Ashley King from Flamingo Heights is my total absolute hero, total fangirling, lover, the work and just how incredible she is at connecting people in business and really inspiring other business owners in the Northeast. Richard Tubb, for me, is...
I know him. Yeah,
this guy. I've heard a little bit
He's
about.
Great.
Yeah, who just, again, it's that like generosity out and reaching out to other people who are maybe further behind on their entrepreneurial journey, to ask how he can support and help. And Anne English, whose business is Create Intrigue. She's a visual communicator. She has really inspired a lot of my the development of my coaching model. Has been inspired by her creativity. She pulls all your great ideas out of your mind and then helps you breathe life into them. It's magic. She's like an alchemist. And Sarah Seed is a women's mindset coach that just is just out there doing a really amazing, incredible work with women in the Northeast. Another creative business that I'm really inspired by, Kim McDermott-Rowe. She's her business is called Greener Lavelle, and she is extraordinary and has such a multi range of skills in terms of creating beautiful big puppets and designs for exhibits, for festivals, costumes. She does loads of work around advocacy for people in business with autism and so much more. I can't even begin to say, but she does beautiful work creating characters. Incredible. And again, these are all people that they've inspired me because they taught me things about business, and they taught me how to take care of myself in business. Yeah. And they've just brought me along. They've walked side by side and brought me forward on my journey. So 100% everyday heroes. And there's loads of other people around. And I'm sure for you too, people around you every day that just blow your mind by their skill and their generosity.
Absolutely. The fact that they can do what they do, but also have time for you and actually help you understand and help you come on that journey with them. It is wonderful that the whole of the whole of the group of people that I've met have been absolutely so kind, so generous with their time. And I can't remember who said it now, but I met this person at one of the CompTIA events, and he said, great leaders make other leaders. And I think that kind of thing, and it's the same for entrepreneurial specialists as well. They help others, reach their potential, and I think that's very important for us to always think about paying it forward. And I think that's a wonderful mindset to have, because you'll never be short of friends when you need help, so I think that's wonderful.
And it's that lovely unspoken pay it forward, which means that I can pay. I've now got the resources to pay that forward for someone else who might be further behind me on the journey or needs certain help with this particular thing, because I've had that gifted to me. So it creates this sort of chain of positivity and community and giving. And that's why it's really special, isn't it?
Community, that's it. Yeah. It's
you mentioned about leadership, and leaders to me are people that see the potential in others and are prepared to nurture that and develop it. And so I guess there's just so much of that going around in our entrepreneurial communities, aren't there?
There certainly are. It's in abundance for sure. Right. We're coming to the end of our time, unfortunately, Polly, but I've just got one last question to ask you. What's next for you in 2023? Is there anything that we should keep our eyes open for, or are there any events that you're looking to attend? What's going to be happening?
Oh, adventures for Adventurous Coaching.
Definitely.
Good question. Things that I guess where I'm getting excited at the moment is about some of the events and things that I'm delivering. So I'm about to launch the Spring 2023 Adventure Map. That's my online program. That's going to be launching next week. It's a 12-week program. So this little adventure map here that I showed you is a little sneak preview into the journey over 12 weeks. And the idea is to help people at the end of it have practice skills in different areas of mental fitness, so they can pack their mental fitness kit bag for life's adventure, because we all need it. I've got some workshops, mental fitness kit bag workshops that I'll be delivering to teams in the Northeast, and I'm excited about that. And I'll be launching Adventure Days, which is adventure coaching days for teams. And I'm excited because I'm doing a recce around the Northeast for all the potential venues that we could have outdoor adventures while we top up the resilience tank. So there's kind of 3 things that are all happening soon. And they're whetting my appetite for adventure, because we're here for a good time, not for a long time. So if we can get up out of bed and enjoy our work, then it has to be done.
Absolutely, yes. Brilliant. So to find out more about that stuff, they can get that on your website, www.adventurouscoaching.com.
Absolutely. So I'm launching the pages for my new services are just in the middle of being tweaked. So they'll be popping up on my website, but LinkedIn is probably the best place where you can see most of what's going on. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those other places too. And if anybody wants to just get in touch, just to have a chat about mental fitness, adventures, just email me, because I love it when people get in touch. Polly@adventurous.coaching.com.
That's brilliant. So, we will add all of these links into the show notes, which we'll put below the video. We'll also mention that Polly's YouTube channel will be on there too, and you can catch up with some of her videos there. So that's all I need to say, except for the fact that anything else that we have mentioned during this interview will also appear in the show notes. It just leaves me to thank my guest, Polly Brennan. Thank you for a wonderful interview, and I wish you all the best for 2023.
I do to you as well. And just a big thanks to you for inviting me, and to anybody listening for taking the time to sit and listen in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that was Polly Brennan of Adventurous Coaching, and I've been Steve McCormick for Tubblog, the hub for MSPs. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and we'll see you next time.